hair thinning, exhaustion, brain fog, severe gut issues are usually not a side effect of the drug, but rather they are symptoms of acute nutrient deficiencies. The drug is not going to build the healthy habits for you. That is why so many people gain the weight right back. The food that you're eating, I can't stress this enough, it needs to be maximum nutrient density, even if it is in small portions. If you're watching this, you are probably on a GLP-1 medication. Maybe you're curious about them, or maybe you've been on one in the past. If so, you are in the right place. I'm a certified nutritionist, and over the last few years, I've had a lot of experience with the nuances around these medications. Studies show that roughly 2/3 of people who stop taking GLP-1s gain the weight right back. On top of that, about 80% of users deal with severe side effects that are super uncomfortable, like nausea, acid reflux, constipation, crashing fatigue, hair thinning, and a bunch of other stuff. In this video, I really want to help you avoid those side effects. I want to help you build a foundational set of eating habits that you can eventually have in place so when you come off of the medication, you actually keep the weight off. That ultimately is the goal. Stick around until the end of this video because I'm gonna walk you through a complete list of specific nutrient-dense foods that you need to focus on eating and what you should avoid to thrive on GLP-1s. Before we jump into how these drugs work, I want to address something that's pretty huge. And that is that it's not your fault if you feel sick on these drugs. I hate to say it, but it's not your doctor's fault either. The average medical school in the US provides fewer than 19 to 20 hours of nutrition education across all 4 years of medical school. That is absolutely crazy. Most doctors are trained in pharmacology and acute clinical intervention, not nuanced, personalized nutrition or diet strategy to lose weight, especially on GLP-1 drugs. On the flip side, the pharmaceutical companies selling these medications profit off of you staying on the drug for the long term, which is kind of fucked up. So they have very little incentive to coach you on how to actually nourish your body or transition off of these drugs. And that's why they call them lifelong drugs. And that's where we, or should I say me, as a nutritionist, feel the urge to step in and get the word out. Because GLP-1s shouldn't be a lazy quick fix. They should be an on-ramp to your new life. When used correctly, these medications can be genuinely life-saving. The health benefits go way beyond weight. GLP-1s significantly reduce visceral fat, so the weight that is being lost is that dangerous inflammatory fat that's stored around your midsection, around your internal organs, and they have shown to improve insulin sensitivity, support liver health, and lower your cardiovascular risk. There's actually large-scale clinical trials that show a 20% reduction in major cardiovascular events for people who are taking GLP-1, and that is a massive finding. That's huge because heart disease is the #1 cause of death in America and around the world. Let's talk about what even is a GLP-1. It's called glucagon-like peptide 1, and it's a hormone that your gut naturally produces every time you eat. Here is how natural GLP-1 works in your body. When you eat food, your food hits that small intestine and your body releases GLP-1. And that signals your pancreas to release the hormone insulin. And insulin's job is to pull the glucose from your bloodstream and deliver it to your cells to then use that glucose for energy. And in the process, GLP-1 slows down gastric emptying. So basically that just means it slows down your digestion so food stays in your stomach longer and you feel full, right? So it sends that signal to your brain, oh, we have enough food inside of our body, we're full. And naturally that suppresses your appetite and you don't have as much of an urge to continue to eat because you're full. The catch, right, between natural GLP-1 that your body makes and the synthetic or the chemical version is that natural GLP-1 has a half-life of about 2 minutes. So your body breaks down GLP-1 almost immediately after it produces it. And in our modern world, with ultra processed foods, metabolic dysfunction from eating a diet full of ultra processed foods, and from being stressed out of our minds, that natural signaling pathway of GLP-1 starts to get weakened and degraded over time. So that signal that is being released from our gut isn't really reaching our brain and having as much of an effect because our body is quite literally overwhelmed. So this is where the medications come in, like Semaglutide, which is Wegovy, or Ozempic, and Tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro or Zepbound. And semaglutide mimics your natural GLP-1, so it binds to that receptor. And Tirzepatide actually binds to two different gut receptors, GLP-1 and GIP. And so that makes Tirzepatide a little bit more effective and better tolerated than semaglutide. So instead of lasting just 2 minutes in your body like the natural GLP-1 your body produces, these medications stay active in your system for days or weeks on end. And they just sort of enhance or amplify that natural communication system between your gut, signaling to your brain that it's full, suppressing your appetite, and basically quieting that food noise in your brain that's telling your body that you're still hungry. So the question is, if the medication works so well, then why do so many people feel like shit on it? Literally, I know people that take this drug and they are like hollowed out versions of themselves. Yeah, they lost weight, but along with losing their spark and maybe being like a duller version of themselves, which who wants that? There's also symptoms that they might be experiencing, like hair thinning, exhaustion, brain fog, severe gut issues in some cases that are usually not a side effect of the drug, but rather they are symptoms of acute nutrient deficiencies and kind of what happens to our body and our metabolism when we undereat. So, because the drug turns off this food noise and it suppresses your appetite, your food intake and your calorie intake drop dramatically in what seems like for some people overnight. So, when your food intake collapses, a vicious cycle starts to take way. And that is that your appetite drops, you're not hungry, so your food intake also drops. And then your nutrient take also drops. So think about your mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. That is what's responsible for making and producing energy. If it doesn't have the raw materials, the vitamins, the nutrients, the essential amino acids that it needs to be able to function properly and burn energy, you're gonna start to feel a little meh. To top it off, if you're eating less food, like to most people, they're like, yes, that's a win. I'm eating less. But if you're eating less of the same foods that got you into the situation in the first place, you're gonna feel bad. If you're eating poor, low quality, ultra processed food and you're eating less of it, you probably were starving your body before of nutrients, and now you're starving it even more. So it is no surprise why you might feel like absolute dog shit. What is the point of looking good and losing weight if you feel terrible? To me, that doesn't really make any sense. So let's sort of like reframe and rethink about what's actually happening behind the most common complaints that we see with GLP-1 drugs. So first one, hair thinning. The reason that hair starts to thin is because hair requires a high turnover of amino acids, zinc, and micronutrients. So these are all nutrients that are found in animal protein or protein, high protein foods in general. So if you're not eating a lot of high protein foods and your hair starts to thin, it's because Hair isn't thought of essential for survival to your body. So when your nutrient intake collapses and your body starts to deprioritize hair growth because it's prioritizing survival instead. So keeping your heart beating and your brain running. So that is why your hair might start to be thinning. When it comes to fatigue and brain fog, when your calories are dropped too low, your body thinks that it is literally in starvation mode. So lower intake of food also means less iron, less vitamin D. And if you're not getting enough iron, which you also find in high protein foods, particularly foods that are rich in animal protein, if you're not eating a lot of those, then you're not getting enough iron. And iron is responsible for binding to oxygen and delivering oxygen to your cells throughout your body. And your body needs oxygen for metabolism to burn energy so that you can think, focus. So if you're under eating, it would make sense that you're low in iron and thus low in energy. If you're dealing with nausea or acid reflux, that is because one of its effects is that it slows stomach emptying, it slows digestion. So if you're eating high fat or greasy or heavy foods, the little food that you are eating going to slow down your digestion even further, and that might create a heavy buildup of pressure, which causes acid reflux and feeling of nausea. Again, eating less of bad foods is not going to be good for your digestion on these drugs. And then finally, constipation. Nobody likes to feel constipated. There is nothing worse than going a few days without taking a good solid crap. That is because, right? We already talked about it, slow digestion, delayed gastric emptying that happens with these GLP-1s. And plus, if you're not eating a lot, you're probably not eating a lot of fiber. And fiber is responsible for gastric motility, for moving food down and through your digestive system. Also, you're probably not getting a lot of magnesium. And magnesium is an essential micronutrient for over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body. I actually think it's like closer to 600 now with new research. If you're not getting enough magnesium, then 600 enzymatic reactions cannot function properly. Add to that list digestion, and yeah, you can see why not eating enough food, not drinking enough water, not getting enough fiber, magnesium is going to equal severe constipation. And nobody wants that. Let's move on to how we fix this. Here are the essential nutrition rules that I want you to remember and the exact foods that I want you to focus on. The first thing is prioritizing your muscle mass. So one of the side effects of these drugs is that it causes muscle wasting or the loss of lean mass. When you're under eating, protein specifically, your body is going to find protein from somewhere. And typically that means the muscle stores or the lean mass that you have on your body. So that is why a major side effect is muscle loss, bone loss as well, if you're not getting enough calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, zinc, all of the nutrients that you need to maintain a healthy bone mass. Like I said, when you lose weight rapidly without eating enough protein, up to 40% of the weight loss can be lean muscle mass. And losing muscle tanks your metabolism. It destroys your posture. Now I'm like, making sure I'm sitting up straight. So, because heavy, high fat protein, so think like fatty steaks, that can actually contribute to delayed gastric emptying and cause that nausea that we want to avoid. So, we really want to focus on lean, high protein options that digest very easily. So, get your notes and write this down. We want to make sure we are prioritizing lean animal protein, skinless chicken breast, turkey breast, extra lean ground turkey. So think 93% lean or 99% lean. Whitefish is amazing. Cod, halibut, mahi mahi, shrimp, also super lean protein. Egg whites and non-fat or or low-fat plain Greek yogurt or cottage cheese. These are great lean protein options. You could also do chicken thighs and chicken drumsticks, just take the skin off. Lean ground beef, you don't want to see a lot of that white marbling. Flank steaks, skirt steaks, sirloin steak, round roast, those are all very lean cuts of red meat. We don't want to completely discredit red meat because it tends to have more fat in it. Just go for the leaner red meats that are out there. Plant-based proteins too, you have tofu, tempeh, edamame, lentils, chickpeas, black beans, and these are also high in fiber, so you kind of get like a double whammy. Protein, key, so important. Please prioritize these foods. And then we also have our key micronutrients. Magnesium and zinc, these are crucial micronutrients for hair growth, for your immune system, and for keeping things moving in your gut so you don't feel constipated. The foods to focus on that are rich in magnesium and zinc are pumpkin seeds. Chia seeds are amazing. They're really good if you are constipated. Just make sure you're drinking enough water. Spinach, Swiss chard, dark leafy greens, lentils, cashews, and oysters. Amazing, amazing source of zinc. Clams are an amazing source of zinc and vitamin B12. Mussels, another great one. Speaking of vitamin B12, that is also incredibly essential. A lot of people, when they are under eating, can fall deficient in vitamin B12, and this is like your energy vitamin. So you want to make sure that you're getting enough B12 and enough folate. Folate is crucial for basically every process that happens in your body, from DNA repair to your immune system to cellular growth, regeneration, for your hair, for your skin, for your nails. Folate is really important for just like beauty and aesthetic purposes. So the food that you are eating, make sure it is rich in vitamin B12 and folate. B12 you're gonna get in the protein that you're eating. So focus on foods like nutritional yeast if you're vegan or vegetarian. That's an excellent source of B12. Eggs, grass-fed beef, salmon, spinach, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, leafy greens are an amazing source of folate. They're crucial for neurotransmitter production, so the hormones and neurotransmitters in your brain that are responsible for your mood, focus. And finally, we have iron and vitamin D. Iron deficiency is one of the primary drivers of fatigue in people who are taking GLP-1s. So make sure you are eating your protein, right? Because this is going to be an excellent source of iron. Your animal-based protein is going to have heme iron. Your plant-based protein is going to have non-heme iron. So think of your grass-fed beef, dark meat, right? Chicken thighs, chicken drumsticks, spinach, lentils, egg yolks, wild-caught salmon. Egg yolks, amazing sources of vitamin D, so make sure that you are including those foods in your rotation. Even if you can't eat an entire serving, just having a little bit is going to help your brain and your energy levels tremendously. Trust me on this. The golden rule is food first, always. When you're on a GLP-1, you want to utilize high quality whole foods. And if you're still feeling like there's gaps in your nutrition, which there probably is going to just because you're not consuming a lot of calories, so you're not going to be getting as much nutrition and nourishment, a high quality whole food based multivitamin, a gentle iron bisglycinate supplement, or a magnesium citrate supplement in the evening will be a fantastic insurance policy just to make sure you cover those bases. And then finally, let's talk about hydration. So hydration is so key to support motility. Like we said, gastric emptying is definitely slowed. So drinking enough water is just going to make sure that your digestion is moving at a speed where you can have regular bowel movements. I've been thinking about creating a series of high protein, high fiber, micronutrient dense recipes that I could show you how to make that are GLP-1 friendly. These are going to be meals that cover all of the nutrient bases that we talked about in this video and that keep your muscles safe, fix your gut, and that taste really good. So if that's something that you'd be interested in on this channel, please comment below and let me know what recipes you'd like me to make. I can do anything. I can make an unhealthy recipe healthy. I can increase the protein, fiber, you name it. Let me know what you want. I'll see you in the next video.